Welcome to Content and Conversations, the podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners that want to prioritize connection and relationship as the primary tool to drive sales. Content and conversations are the two most powerful tools you have to attract the most amazing clients, build solid relationships, and sell more stuff. From sales, marketing, energy, and mindset, we'll discuss everything you need to hit your goals, make more money, and have more fun in your business. Let's go. All right. Hello and welcome back to Content and Conversations Live. Happy Monday. I am so excited to be here with you today to finish kind of part two of what we talked about last week, which was the content part of Content and Conversations, which means today we're going to talk about the conversations part of Content and Conversations. So if you are new to the show, first of all, I'm really excited that you're here. Second of all, this is actually only episode, I believe, number 5. So you have plenty of time to go back to the beginning and start from the beginning of really understanding what we have been building on. So what we have been building on over every week for the past 5 weeks is really, how do we generate more cash? How do we generate more revenue? How do we generate more sales? How do we help more people leveraging social media and really leveraging human to human connection, right? So the name of the connection agency is just that. Right. We really, truly value connection. It's one of our primary values as an organization, is really helping build connection with our people, because that is how we think that we are able to grow faster and more effectively. So today we're going to talk about conversations. So if you're like, what do I post on social media? Go listen to last week's episode. It is everywhere we are on social. It's also on anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can go get it there. But today I want to talk about conversations. So I have said this a million times since I started my career as an entrepreneur, that conversations equals relationships and relationships equals clients. I think that conversations are our fastest path to cash. I think that conversations will solve 99% of the problems in our lives, but more specifically in our businesses, right? I've also been known to say over and over and over and over and over again, the more people you talk to, the more money you make. The more people you talk to, the more money you make, right? It's been a fact for me. It's been a fact for our clients for many, many years. But a lot of people get hung up on like, okay, but like, what kind of conversations am I having? And who am I having conversations with? And how do I start these conversations? And I get a lot of questions around, well, I don't want to be salesy, and I don't want to be spammy, and I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do that. And we're going to break all of that down for you today. How do I get into more conversations on the internet without being a weirdo? How do I get into more conversations on the internet without sending cold pitches to strangers? How do I get into more conversations on the internet that actually yield to the relationships that I desire, that are actually going to move the needle in my business? That is what we're going to talk about today. So there are 5 key conversations that we have inside of the connection agencies that we help our clients have inside of their businesses. And so we're going to break apart those conversations, and then we're going to talk about where do we go find these people that we're connecting with, right? So the 5 different types of conversation. The first one are connect call conversations. So I very specifically believe in connect conversations for the newer entrepreneur, right? So if you are in the 0 to, I say, 5K a month range in your business, connect calls, coffee chats, networking calls, whatever you want to call them, are the most valuable tool that you have in your arsenal. Here is why I think this to be true. 1, you're going to start to build relationships. And what we really need in the beginning, though, is practice. We need to practice talking about our business. I don't want the first time that you get to actually talk about your business be in like a sales conversation with a right fit client right now. Right? Practice talking about your business. What questions do people ask? What do people think you do based on what you share on social media and in those conversations? So connect calls are really just you building a network. They're really just you building relationships. Do we hope that some of these people become clients? Of course we do, right? But are they going to? I don't know the answer to that. But in the beginning, it is really about building that network of people. You've heard it over and over again. It's super cliche. Unfortunately, it's true. Your network is your net worth. So if you are starting from, like I said, $0 to $5,000 a month, and you're like, okay, what should I be doing with my time that I have designated to work? You should be on the phone with people. I used to teach my new entrepreneurs all the time, right? It's the 80-20 rule. If you don't have client work to be doing, 80% of your time should be spent in conversation with new people, because that's how you're going to build relationships. That's how you're going to get good at talking about what you do. That's how other people are going to ask you questions about your business, so you get better and better and better. And then, of course, by the pure law of averages, you're eventually going to wind up signing clients through those relationships. I like to tell people that I spent all of 2018 coffeeing. I mean, I had so much coffee. And this was like back before we coffeed on Zoom all the time. These were like in-person coffees. I talked to so many people, but I got so good at talking about my business. I got so good about talking about what I do. I got so good at really understanding what words to use for different people and how it resonated with people and how to best describe what I did. Because to us, what we do seems so obvious because we're so good at it. But when you talk to other people, it doesn't always ring true. So the connect call is really, really valuable. Now I leverage the connect call more than the sales call, primarily because I don't do a lot of the sales calls, my team does, but I'm just always looking to build my network. I'm just always looking for people to mastermind with and that sort of very intentional with that time. But I'm now back at a point in my business now in the high 6-figure range on to 7 figures. I think this year will probably wind up somewhere between like 700 and a million, but really just looking to build that network of people. So that is what the connect call is for. That's an excellent conversation to just, hey, I like you. I like your style. I like how you show up. We seem to have shared values. I would love to get to know you better. The important part of the connect call conversation though, guys, is that you cannot sell in a connect call. You cannot sell in a connect call. You cannot sell in a connect call because you will instantly lose credibility. If you invite somebody to a cup of coffee, you do not sell them something unless they ask you to, right? I mean, I've had that happen, where I get into connect calls with people and I get into conversations and it's great and it's all well and good. And then they start asking me more. And then I'm like, but I didn't invite you here to sell you something. And they're like, it's fine. Just tell me anyway, right? And so in that case, of course I will, but it's ultimately not something that I do very often and I try to avoid. Right? So that's the connect call. Those are great conversations to have. Sales conversations, right? Conversation type number 2, sales conversations, right? That's obvious. This is an actual conversion conversation where we're getting on the phone with somebody to what I used to call in my sales days, either a discovery call or a client needs analysis, and really understanding what this person needs, wants, what their challenges are, what their problems are. And then we are proposing your services, your solution as the solution to their problem. So obviously we can leverage, the DMs on social media to get to book sales conversations. So we can book connect calls, we can book sales conversations. The other 3 are a little looser, right? So freebies, it's a really great way. Connecting with people on the DMs and social media is a really fantastic way to get people to get them on your email list. Hey, I have this really great checklist, or I have this great free training, or I have this thing that I've created, that I think would be really valuable to you based on what I can tell about you online. Can I share it with you, right? That is a really easy way to grow your email list. This is a big part of what we do for our people who prefer to sell through emails or host large events. It's like, okay, cool. How do I get more people on my email list other than to just run ads? That's a great way to do it, right? Connecting with the people you're connecting with on social media, connecting with new people on social media and saying, hey, I have this really fantastic free resource. I would love to share it with you. So that's a great way to leverage more conversations on social media. Right? The 4th one is to share your podcast, right? So if you have a podcast and your goal is to get listeners on your podcast, it's the same idea. Like, hey, really excited to be connected based on what I can tell about you. I have this podcast. We publish, live, or we publish every single Monday. It's for this person who has this problem, who wants this result. Can I share it with you? Right? So again, it's just another way to connect with people and say, hey, here's this free resource, pulls them into your audience, pulls them into your ecosystem, gets them into your content, gets them into getting to know you a little bit better. And ultimately, we need to have a plan to get them from podcast to sales. But we don't have time to do that in today's episode, right? And then the final conversation, we have our event conversations, right? So for those of you that are hosting live conversion events, so maybe you are hosting a launch, a challenge, a webinar, whatever you call it these days, workshop, masterclass, call it what you want to call it. But when you plan to invite people to an event where you plan to offer value and sell them something on the back end, the social media DMs is the best way to fill these and to provide personalized invitations. This is actually how I made my first $1 million in business, was by personal invitations to the live launches that I ran. We did $1 million in sales in about 18 months, and we did it I want to say 96% organically. We dipped our toes in ads every now and again, never really had a ton of success. Nothing wrong with ads. I'm a huge proponent of ads. But for us, that wasn't what was working. It was for us, it was getting people into our events, getting them to show up live and spend time with me, was ultimately how we were converting at the time. So that was really how we leveraged the DMs for probably the first handful of years. Now we share a demo, we book sales calls, we use a lot of different tools inside of the agency, and we have clients doing all different things, right? Some people are doing connect calls, some want sales calls, some just want people in their Facebook group. But there are a million different ways to leverage the social media DMs to invite people into your world, right? So those are the types of conversations we're having. And now you're thinking, yeah, but Ryan, who the hell do I talk to? Like, where do I find these people? And the fun part of that is like, social media is how we find the people. If you want to, you can go out in the world and you can start conversations in person. You can go to networking events, email. There's a lot of tools, but what we talk about here on this podcast is primarily social media. It's been my primary sales tool since 2019. I would say probably about 90% of my revenue has come from social media. Yes, of course, we pull people into an email list and we do a lot of different things, but 90% of the relationships of people who have bought things from me since 2019, I met them on Facebook. And Facebook has been our primary tool. So of course you can do this across all platforms. This works, but that's just been my personal experience. So, okay, where do we find these people? Well, the good news is depending on where you are on social media, it's really easy to find your people. If you know you serve business coaches, go find Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups full of business coaches, right? search hashtag business coach, and on Instagram, on whatever, on TikTok, and you're going to find these people, right? So it's very easy to find your people. Then the key is, okay, how do I get them into our ecosystem from just, I found them on the internet. So it's exactly what I described, right? It's like, okay, cool. I found this person on the internet. They fit the profile of my ideal client. I want to connect with them. Hey, Hannah, I like your style. I like how you show up online. I want to get to know you better, right? And just send that connection request. Keep it really simple. Keep it really easy. And so if you're out seeking, you're like, okay, I need to intentionally build a network of people who fit a specific profile of people I talk to. There's a million different ways to do that. But I recommend, let's start with the profile. How does your ideal client show up online, right? Like we have a very clear ideal, like a profile of who our ideal client is for the connection agency, for Connect Chat, for Connect Marketing. We know who our people are, and we go out and we intentionally connect with them. We send the friend request. We send the LinkedIn connection request. We follow them on Instagram, right? And we send them, most of them, a direct message that says, hey, I just want to be connected with you. I'm just growing my network of people. The number of people that are open to the idea, they're like, hey, I just want to get to know you better. I like your style. Like that's what we're here to do. And so that's really like a great way to do it, is go out and actually intentionally find the people. Anytime you get new followers or people who are engaging with you. So maybe you're not inviting them into your world, but there's people that are liking your stuff, commenting on your stuff. They're engaging with your social media. Talk to all of them, guys. Attention is currency. If people's liking your stuff, if they're commenting on your stuff, if they're interacting with you, they're giving you their time, they're giving you their attention. Talk to them, right? And again, we're not pitching them anything. It's, hey, Sarah, thank you so much for, your comment on my post. I really appreciate that. I see that you do ABCXYZ. What about your work excites you right now, right? We just started a conversation on the stranger on the internet without being weird. We're just saying, hey, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for acknowledging me. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for your valuable input. And I want to learn something about you, right? So the people who are engaging with you, the people who are walking into your room. So if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, on Instagram, send messages to your new followers, send messages to your new connection requests. Thank you so much for being a part of our community. Would love to learn more about you. Or thank you so much for being part of our new community. Here's a free gift for being here, and send them your freebie, whatever works for you. But when people are walking into your room on social media, that is an opportunity to start a conversation. Do you know the number of people who are not doing that? Start conversations with the people who are interacting with you. They are giving you their time. They are giving you their attention. They are giving you currency. Make that a two-way conversation, right? That's why I said conversations equals relationships. Relationships equals clients. Should we be doing this with people who just like your content? Like, just thanks for the like. Thanks for acknowledging me. It's really helpful, And here's also, like, if you're like, Ryan, I don't have time to like DM everybody. DM the people who meet your ideal client profile. Right. So say, for instance, you get a post or you post something and you get 73 likes and you're like, shit, that's a lot of comment. That's a lot. That's a lot. Like, no problem. Let's go find, of those 73 people, go find the 26 who meet your ideal client profile and then connect with them. Start a conversation with them, right? Something you said or did resonated with them in some way, and they push the like button, start that conversation. So that's a really great way to get into conversations, right? So we can go out into the world, we can find people who are already gathered in Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Instagram followers, whatever works, engage with them, invite them into our world, right? But then we also have the people who are stepping into our room, the people who are friend requesting us, liking us, engaging with us, the people who are commenting on our stuff. Like, notice that, like, there's no shortage of people to talk to. You should easily be able to get into conversation with 20 to 30 new people every single day if you're showing up consistently on the internet. I really, 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 truly believe that in my heart of hearts. And it shouldn't take a lot of time, because if you're showing up consistently and you're posting content consistently and you're inviting people into your world consistently and you're out there sending the friend requests and you're out there connecting with new people, it should be no problem to have 20 new people to talk to every day. And you might be like, holy shit, that feels like a lot. I get it, right? But intention is currency these days. And if you want to grow a business that is profitable and successful and that you sell things every day, that you're going to have to operate at volume. And I used to apologize for that. When I was, working with new entrepreneurs, I kind of sugarcoated that a little bit. I didn't want to be like, no, you're going to have to effing show up and get something done, because I didn't want to scare people. But the truth of the matter is, it's not 2020 anymore. It's not 2021 anymore. People aren't just like willy-nilly throwing out their credit card for anything and everything. Today's consumer is more discerning, right? They're taking longer to make buying decisions. They really want to know who you are as a human. And the best way to do that is to get into a conversation. And when you do that, you get to build a relationship. The number of friends that I have on the internet is remarkable, by simply starting a conversation like, hey, I like you. I like your style. I like how you show up. It seems like we share values. Let's get to know one another and be open to, you have no idea where that conversation goes. And then there are some of you out there right now thinking, Ryan, I do not have all day to spend in coffee chats. And I get it, right? This is a graduated process as your business grows. again, if you are sub six figures, so you were $0 to $8,000 a month, I'm going to say that you have the time to do this. This is your primary job, is to drive revenue. And the best way to drive revenue is to go get into conversations. So if you're like, I don't care if you only have, say you have 10 hours a week to work on your business. You're like, I homeschool my kids and I have a part-time job and I have 2 clients and I only have 10 hours a week to dedicate to this. Cool. 80% of that should be dedicated to this in the $0 to $5,000 to $6,000 range, right? Eventually, then you will graduate into, you will have to be more selective, right? You're not going to get on every single coffee chat. Then you're like, okay, cool. Who do I need to intentionally build my network with? Then you want to be more intentional about your connect calls. You want to be more intentional in how you spend your time, right? But then once you're in the $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month range, this is when it's time to start hiring somebody else to do your networking for you, right? But there is never a time in your business where filling your sales pipeline is not an option if you want to add revenue, right? If you want to add revenue, if you're at a point in your business where like, I'm good, I make what I make every month, I'm happy with it, my referrals are great, fabulous, go, run, have fun, that's fantastic. But if you're like, no, I want to make more money, I want to sign new clients every day, every week, how often you want to do it, then this is a critical part of business building, period, end of. And you will do this so much faster if you go back and listen to my content episode from last week and you actually start these conversations like I'm talking about with you here today, then that is going to be your fastest path to cash. That is going to be your fastest path to cash. Generate great content and start conversations with new people. And if you do that every day, without a doubt, you will make money. Without a doubt, you will sign clients. Without a doubt, you will get where you want to go. And there's so many of you that are thinking, I don't have the time. If you're not hitting your revenue goals and you don't have the time to do this work, it's time to go back and evaluate, what are you spending your time on? What is or isn't moving the needle? Because if you're not hitting your revenue goals, this is the way to do it. And there's somebody out there who's thinking, well, I'm just going to host an event. A conversion event would be easier. Sure. Right. Selling one to many. Great. I like it. It's worked well for me. But it takes time. It takes time to host a conversion event that's actually going to create the kind of revenue that you want. Or maybe you hate conversion events and you don't want to. You don't have to. If you do these 2 things, you're good to go. Right. But when you start conversations with people, when you invite them into your world, if you show them that you see them, you understand them, right? Our most basic human needs feel seen, heard, and understood. If we can do that in the DMs on social media, by the time you ever get anybody into a sales conversation, the likelihood of them saying yes is astronomically higher, right? Because they already know you, they already like you, they already trust you. This is happening right now. So we just launched a brand new boot camp. It's called Content and Conversations Boot Camp. It's a 30-day boot camp where I'm going to tell you what to post on social media every day. I'm going to tell you how to get into conversation every single day. And the people who have reached out to me and buy this, some of these people are things that have never bought anything from me. They have just been waiting for me to make an offer. And the number of people that are reaching out and being like, yes, I'm in, send me the link. Send me the link is huge. Right. And it's because I have shown up and built those relationships. They didn't need to think about it. They didn't need to like hum and haw and like, oh, no, I know Ryan. I trust Ryan. This is a no-brainer offer. Here's my cash. Right. But I've built those relationships over the years. Some of these people for years, literally years, have been in my audience and then maybe bought small things or not really bought anything, which is fine. Right. But they're buying things now. And so often as entrepreneurs, we're sold this like quick fix, get it done now, $1 million overnight. And when it doesn't happen that way, we get frustrated. But it really is a long game. Right? Entrepreneurship, relationships are a long game. You know, when I talked about the 4 C's of content marketing, we joke that like relationships are like, or sales and marketing is like dating, right? We joke about that a lot. It's just such an important part of what we do. So I hope that this is helpful. I hope you guys are having these conversations. I hope that you really hear what I'm saying right now is it's a long game, right? We need to build the long relationships. We need to be prepared for long term, right? Going back to the relationship side of this. That's what I mean. Like it's a long game. You don't just show up on a first date and you're like, yeah, they didn't buy anything, I'm out, right? Like you are willing to show up and do that over and over again till we build the relationship, till we decide where do we go next in this. It's that same concept. But when we only are willing to, when we're playing the short game and we need it to happen right now, and it has to happen immediately, we really miss the opportunity for those long-term relationships, which yield people just clicking and buying at some point down the road when you put out an offer that's a no-brainer for them because they feel seen, heard, understood. They have a relationship with you. They already trust you because you've already had a conversation with them. So I hope that this is helpful for you. I'm excited to hear your feedback on this. For those of you that are watching live, thank you so much. For those of you on the podcast, come find us on social media, ask us questions, give us your feedback. We really sincerely appreciate it. If you are considering the Content and Conversations Bootcamp, it is a 30-day bootcamp where I am going to literally tell you what to post and what conversations to start every single day. So if you want to consider that, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, have an amazing week and we'll see y'all next week. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to Content and Conversations. If this was helpful for you, I would love if you would follow along, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. And we'll see you next week.